self-development. Lee TV. Daily habits that may be unknowingly contributing to dementia. 4. Let's take a look at some of our favorite habits and how they might be linked to dementia. As it turns out that mindless daily behaviors can age our brains and lead to dementia. If you spend Friday nights alone watching Netflix and scrolling through your phone for hours a day, whenever you can, take note. It's something we're all too familiar with, but the more time we spend mindlessly doing it, the more our brains age, and the more it can lead to dementia. The UK's The Sun reports on some of the habits we do on a daily basis that we don't realize are damaging our brains. A US study found that when the brains of healthy adults were examined, those who felt lonely had higher levels of cortical amyloid. Cortical amyloid levels are a marker used to diagnose dementia. This is supported by other research that suggests social isolation is associated with early onset dementia, where symptoms appear before the age of 65. Dr. Tim Beanland of the Alzheimer's Society emphasizes that a good way to keep the brain healthy is to stay socially active throughout life, especially as it gives the brain great exercise and can help reduce the risk of dementia. He explains that it's best to interact with people in person, but if that's not possible, you should still connect with them online or over the phone. Rather than watching Netflix alone on a Friday or weekend evening, why not cut back this week and meet up with family or friends? Loud noises are a leading cause of hearing loss. Surprisingly, it also increases your chances of developing dementia. This doesn't mean going to a concert, but listening to music loudly through headphones or listening to the news on the radio loudly. Jeremy Clarkson, a columnist for The Sun, emphasized that hearing problems can double the risk of developing dementia. Clarkson explained that the brain needs a huge amount of brain spinning to make sense of what it can't hear. So if you're going to be exposed to loud noises for long periods of time, it's best to protect your ears whenever possible. Exercise is always good, but some sports can lead to brain damage if you don't wear the right protection. For example, head protection is necessary when playing sports like rugby and football, Dr. Vinland explained. Wear a helmet when biking, skateboarding, and horseback riding, and be careful when playing games like rugby and American football, because they can cause concussions, Vinland said. A Danish study found that people over the age of 50 had an increased risk of developing dementia in the 10 years following a head injury, with the risk increasing with the number of head injuries sustained. Another study led by the University of Glasgow found that professional football players had a 3.5 times higher risk of dying from progressive brain injury compared to the general population. They were even 5 times more likely to die from Alzheimer's disease. For modern people, this is the most important thing to read. How much time do we spend glued to our smartphone screens? A study published last year estimated that we spend about 7 hours a day looking at electronics. It could actually be more, and it's having a huge impact on our brains, leading thousands of people to develop digital dementia. Some studies have linked aimlessly staring at your phone to an increased risk of developing dementia. Others have linked more than 4 hours of screen time per day to an increased risk of dementia. Dr. Vinland explains that, simply put, the brain is like any other muscle. Rather than staying away from electronics, it can be much more beneficial to go to the gym to improve brain health and increase mental agility. Exercise, in particular, can help keep your memory and thinking skills working well for longer. He adds, we've seen how the things we do in our daily lives can affect our brain health. we should be more socially active and develop habits that protect our hearing and head. It's also important to exercise to keep your brain healthy. Source: comedy.com. He, Eon Young. Thanks for whack thing.